Well, good morning, and welcome to yet another daily office reflection here with Clyde Park Church of the Nazarene. This is Pastor Ryan. Today we are going from the Book of Common Prayers Psalm readings, and we're doing the evening psalm actually of Psalm 15. So the psalmist writes, "O Lord, who may abide in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy hill? Those who walk blamelessly and who do what is right, and speak the truth from their heart, who do not slander with their tongue and do no evil to their friends, nor take up a reproach against their neighbors, and whose eyes the wicked are despised, but who honor those who fear the Lord, who stand by their oath even to their hurt, who do not lend money at interest, and who do not take a bribe against the innocent. Those who do such things shall never be moved." The word of the Lord for us today. So we have here the psalm. The psalm begins with a question, and it's asking, what does it take to dwell with God? Who can dwell on God's holy mountain? Which is a great question to ask, right? Like, what does it mean to dwell with God? What does it mean to exist with God? So the CEB is another translation, and I also like this one, so I thought I'd read it in this. "Who can live in your tent, Lord? Who can dwell in your holy mountain? The person who lives free of blame, who does what is right, who speaks the truth sincerely, who does not know damage with their talk, who does no harm to a friend, doesn't insult a neighbor, someone who despises those who act wickedly, but who honors those who honor the Lord, someone who keeps their promise even when it hurts, someone who doesn't lend money with interest, who won't accept a bribe against any innocent person. Whoever does these things will never stumble." And oftentimes when we think of holiness or righteousness or what it means to follow after God, we kind of get a little wishy-washy and don't necessarily always have like a list. On the other hand, sometimes when it comes to holiness, we do make lists and then we make a bunch of rules. And then when we've got our rules, we determine how holy we are based on how well we keep the rules. But I think that misses the point. It's not about following rules per se, but I think that Psalm 15 is a good description of what holiness looks like. It's a difference between describing and prescribing. So I don't see this as saying, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this, then you're holy. Rather, it's saying, holy people live this way. And what is that? Who lives free of blame, who does what is right, who speaks the truth sincerely. So somebody who is honest in everything. Someone who does no damage with their talk. So does that mean that we don't ever say anything that might hurt somebody? I'm not sure that it means that we live without criticism or anything like that. But I think it's like coaching, or if we are ever going to say anything negative about somebody, it's not to tear them down, but to build them up and say, hey, so you've been doing this, what if you did this instead? And even then, you can only really do that with people that you have a repertoire with, somebody that you have a good relationship with. Because you cannot do harm to a friend, and we shouldn't just insult people. For holy people don't insult the neighbor. But we can't praise those who do wickedly either. And I know we might want to brush over somebody else's bad deeds, but I think justice requires us to see the world rightly, to see where there are problems. And that's really what this is about. Is it's not just an individual thing, because it's speaking about how we interact with our neighbors. That we are to keep our promises even when it hurts. Even if telling the truth comes back in a negative way on us, we're to be honest people. And And then in verse 5, we have this interesting statement that those who are holy don't lend money with interest. This actually is common throughout the entire Old Testament. And for most of Christian history, Christians have not participated in usury. It is only within the last 200 years or something that usury has become widespread, or usury is just another word for interest. And debt with interest has become incredibly common in our culture. Most Americans are in debt, and most of us end up paying tons with interest. So the different economic system that God expects holy people to live with is just astounding, that it would say somebody doesn't lend with interest. It really is. If you look through the Old Testament, their understanding of money is so different from ours, because the year of Jubilee, which was written into the law, said that every 50 or so years, all of the land would go back to the original people. Like in our understanding, it's all about building wealth and taking care of myself. But the Bible has a communal understanding of wealth. It has a looking out for one's neighbor understanding of wealth. And so we shouldn't be surprised when it says there can be no lending of interest. Now, most of us are not capable of being the lenders, but it speaks to even in sort of work debt, not charging interest on somebody, but keeping things fair in all relationships, making sure that we don't take any bribes. And if you do these things, then you will not stumble. So, essentially, to be holy is to be fair in community. Ellen Chari had a great statement in her thing, and she says that the way of God is a way of walking that pivots on the virtue of justice. Dwelling in God's house is not about a beautiful vision, nor is it about complete knowledge of God. Instead, it is walking a pure and honorable life, one step at a time. So today, maybe you need to pray that God would lead you in his paths, that you could be pure and honorable in your life. I pray that you have a great day, that you enjoy the beautiful weather until it rains, and that you are able to walk in the way of holiness. God bless.